A quiet goodbye, the death of Brandon Blackstock and the ripples through a blended music family. On Thursday, August 7th, the country music world was struck with an emotional blow. Brandon Blackstock, a familiar yet often private figure in the entertainment industry, passed away after a 3-year, undisclosed battle with cancer. He was just 48 years old. The loss has triggered a wave of sorrow, not only because of his place in the industry, but also due to the intricate web of familial connections that tie him to some of country and pop music's most recognizable names, Reba McEntire and Kelly Clarkson among them. As fans and family alike struggle to comprehend the loss, the story of Brandon's life and death reminds us that celebrity families are still families, bound by love, loss, and complex relationships that transcend headlines. Though public figures like Reba McEntire have largely remained quiet, the few words spoken have carried immense emotional weight, offering a window into the personal grief felt by those who loved him. A life lived in the background of fame. Brandon Blackstock wasn't a chart-topping artist or a household name in his own right, but his ties to the music industry ran deep. He was born into it. The son of famed talent manager Narvel Blackstock and his first wife, Elisa Gale Ritter, Brandon grew up surrounded by the rhythms of Nashville's powerful music machine. When Narvel married country superstar Reba McEntire in 1989, Brandon became Reba's stepson. For 26 years, Reba and Narvel were a powerhouse couple in country music, both professionally and personally. During that time, Reba has said she raised Brandon and his siblings as her own, forming what many saw as a close-knit blended family. Brandon followed in his father's footsteps and built a career in music management. He eventually became the manager for pop icon Kelly Clarkson, a role that evolved into a romantic relationship. Brandon and Kelly married in 2013, launching a highly publicized union that would later produce 2 children, River Rose and Remington Alexander. Their eventual divorce in 2022 became a media sensation, full of legal disputes and personal revelations. But through it all, Brandon remained a father and a presence in their lives. Yet behind the public image, Brandon was battling something very few knew about: cancer, a private 3-year struggle that he chose to endure quietly, a decision that speaks volumes about the kind of man he was. The quiet announcement of his death. News of Brandon's passing on August 7th came not through splashy headlines or publicist statements, but quietly and respectfully. His death was confirmed by a coroner to be the result of natural causes linked to his cancer battle. It was not a shock to those closest to him, but to the wider world, it landed like a thunderclap. In a world that so often demands transparency and access to personal grief, the Blackstock family's handling of Brandon's death was dignified and understated. It wasn't long, however, before tributes began pouring in, and with them, a clearer picture of the impact he had on those around him. A son, a stepson, a father, and always family, though. Reba McEntire has yet to make a formal public statement. Her quiet words on her son Shelby Blackstock's Instagram tribute spoke volumes. Shelby, Reba and Narvel's biological son, posted a series of heartfelt photos of his older half-brother, accompanied by the caption, "An irreplaceable part of our family. Funny, bright, and full of life. He will be deeply missed." It was beneath this post that Reba, in her first and only public comment so far, left a simple but deeply poignant message. "Very well said, Shelby. Yes, we will miss him so much." Though brief, the comment captured the emotional weight of the moment. It confirmed what fans and observers long suspected, that despite the divorce from Narvel in 2015 and the passage of time, Reba continued to feel a maternal bond with Brandon. Love doesn't always end with marriage, and family doesn't always require biology. The ripple effect. Through a blended family, Brandon Blackstock leaves behind 4 children from 2 marriages: Savannah and Seth, from his first marriage to Melissa Ashworth, and River and Remington, from his marriage to Kelly Clarkson. All 4 now must navigate the profound loss of their father, a challenge no child should have to face, regardless of age or circumstance. Melissa Ashworth, his first wife, shared her own tribute online, writing, "Savannah, Seth, and our grandchildren are the best parts of who Brandon and I are. Thank you for all your prayers and condolences." It was a reminder that Brandon's life had chapters that predated his fame by association. Melissa and Brandon were married from 1999 to 2012, during which they built a family that remains deeply connected even now. For Kelly Clarkson, the pain is layered. Though their divorce was contentious and played out under the public spotlight, Brandon was still the father of her two young children. Clarkson has remained quiet so far, likely choosing to shield River and Remington from public attention as they grieve privately. For a mother, that protective instinct in the face of loss is both necessary and heartbreaking. A new love, Brittany Marie Jones. After his divorce from Kelly Clarkson, Brandon found both companionship and partnership in Brittany Marie Jones. Described in his obituary as a loving partner in life and business, Brittany played a significant role in his final years, supporting him through his illness and helping him maintain his personal and professional commitments as best he could. Not much is publicly known about their relationship, and perhaps that's for the best. In a world that often scrutinizes every detail of celebrity relationships, their love seemed to exist in a quieter space. Brittany, along with his children and ex-wives, now shares the painful responsibility of carrying on his legacy. Reba McEntire's silent strength. For her part, Reba McEntire continues to embody grace in the face of grief. Her choice to respond to Shelby's tribute instead of making a grand public statement reflects her understanding of the moment. This is not about fame or public relations, it's about family. Reba's last public post on social media before Brandon's passing was a tribute to her late friend, country legend Jeannie Seeley. Since then, she's remained relatively silent online. In an age of oversharing, her decision to grieve privately is a form of strength, a way of honoring Brandon's memory without spectacle. Fans have responded with understanding, filling comment sections with messages of condolence, love, and respect. They know Reba's heart, and they recognize the sincerity behind her brief but emotional words to Shelby. The blended ties that bind the modern family often defies traditional labels, step, ex, half, and the Blackstock McEntire-Clarkson family is no exception. What this loss has revealed is that even amid divorce, distance, and new relationships, the ties of love remain strong. Reba didn't need to say much to make it clear that Brandon was still part of her family. Shelby didn't need to write a novel to convey the pain of losing a brother, and Melissa and Brittany didn't have to share their grief publicly, but they did, because Brandon meant that much. In many ways, the outpouring of love for Brandon has become a celebration of blended family dynamics, imperfect but deeply human, sometimes strained but rooted in real love. Grieving in the spotlight celebrity grief is always a tightrope. Share too much, and you risk exploitation. Share too little, and people question your sincerity. But those closest to Brandon have chosen a middle path, honoring him publicly but quietly, letting the depth of their loss speak for itself. For Kelly Clarkson, who continues to balance fame, motherhood, and personal growth, this moment will no doubt shape her and her children for years to come. For Reba, it's a chapter of grief in a life that has already known so much loss, including the tragic 1991 plane crash that claimed members of her touring band. But as she's done before, Reba leads with dignity. Her quiet strength during this difficult time serves as a model for those watching from the sidelines, fans, friends, and fellow artists alike. A lasting legacy. Though Brandon Blackstock may not have sought the spotlight, his impact was undeniable. He was a father, a brother, a son, a partner, and a man who meant something to many different people. His legacy is reflected in the lives of his children, the memories shared by loved ones, and the dignified sorrow of those mourning his passing. He leaves behind a fractured but loving family, one that spans states, marriages, and decades. And in their grief, we are reminded that love does not end with separation, and family is not limited by blood. As this story continues to unfold, one thing is certain: Brandon Blackstock was deeply loved, and he will be deeply missed.